He was simply walking outside to collect his mail.
Seconds later, a car struck him. But what happened next was so disturbing that our neighbor's security camera
Captured the entire horrifying scene.
The driver didn't just hit him once. She reversed,
Hit him again.
then got out of the vehicle and knelt beside him. And then, according to investigators, she kissed him before stabbing him repeatedly. This is the disturbing case of 64-year-old Steven Anderson and 20-year-old Karen Fisher.
It happened on May 3, 2024, outside Anderson's home in Houston, Texas.
Steven Anderson was 64 years old and, according to people who knew him,
Was a kind and respected man.
he had worked as a manager at a cancer center before retiring. That morning,
There was nothing to suggest that his life was about to end in an unimaginable way.
Anderson walked outside to collect his mail,
Then a vehicle suddenly approached. The car struck him.
but instead of driving away,
The vehicle reversed.
Anderson was hit again.
What happened afterward was captured by a nearby security camera. Fisher reportedly stepped out of the vehicle and approached Anderson,
She then knelt over him.
and in a moment that investigators found deeply disturbing.
She allegedly kissed him.
But the encounter wasn't over.
According to police, Fisher then stabbed Anderson multiple times. Neighbors heard the commotion and rushed outside.
One witness reportedly brought a pillow in an attempt to help the injured man.
But there was nothing they could do. Steven Anderson was dead. And suddenly, a quiet residential neighborhood had become the scene of a shocking killing.
And perhaps the most disturbing part of the case was this.
Investigators said there was no known relationship between Anderson and Fisher.
No known connection.
No apparent history between them.
At least nothing investigators had publicly identified that could explain why.
Anderson was targeted.
That left the people who knew him with one terrifying question.
Why him?
Was this a personal attack? Was Anderson simply in the wrong place at the wrong time? Or was there something about
Fisher's background that investigators had yet to uncover?
Fisher was arrested the same day and charged with murder. Her bond was initially set at $2 million.
But the case became even more complicated after her arrest. While undergoing an evaluation at a hospital,
Fisher allegedly assaulted a staff member, and while in custody, she allegedly bit a jailer.
those incidents resulted in additional charges. Meanwhile, investigators
Began looking deeper into Fisher's background
and mental state as they tried to understand
what could have led to such a violent and apparently random attack. But an important distinction remains. Investigators can examine someone's mental health or background without that automatically explaining or excusing
an alleged crime. For Anderson's neighbors, the violence was difficult to comprehend. They didn't describe him as someone who went looking for trouble.
They remembered a retired man who was kind,
Gentle, and loved by the people around him. He walked outside his own home to collect his mail.
and never came back inside. His death didn't just devastate a family, it left an entire neighborhood wondering how something so horrifying could happen in a place people
Considered home, Karen Fisher now faces the consequences of the charges against her as
the case moves through the justice system.
and investigators continue to search for answers about what happened that day.
But one question still hangs over this case.
Why was Steven Anderson attacked? Was there a motive investigators haven't uncovered?
Or was this truly a random act of violence? Until those questions are answered, the final moments of Steven
Anderson's life remain one of Houston's
most disturbing mysteries. And sometimes, the most frightening thing about a crime isn't knowing who did it, it's not knowing why.